I think for me, it's been so integral to sort of like give back to the community. I think a big part of it was going to those workshops and being a part of the posing and learning basically from others that were experienced, in terms of their experience. So for me, it was being able to go back and give back again. I think it's just like so important. It's just like little tips and things like that that you can pick up on that made the world of difference for me on stage. So being able to go and give that back to other, up and coming athletes has been just phenomenal. Yeah. Probably that traditional story of, back when you're younger, I was always physically active, I participated in sports. For me, I was a competitive swimmer, so competed in swimming and went to state titles, things like that when I was younger. So I think naturally I was always within that fitness community and aspiring to improve my performance. And I think when that ended up finishing, I wanted to naturally gravitate towards something else that would fulfill that void for me, So that's kind of how I went down that bodybuilding route. I studied exercise science and exercise physiology at uni, and I think because I was just very inquisitive in terms of what I wanted to learn, and I was sort of an open book, so to speak. Yeah, I've always had that sort of passion to be active and involved in fitness, and I think that's kind of naturally gravitated me towards the physique sports. Probably gravitates from, or stems from when I was much younger at school. Like I remember my bag rack used to be out the front of the actual school gym. So, and being involved in swimming, we would do some strength and conditioning stuff as well on the side to improve our swimming performance. And I think I got to the point where I started to actually enjoy that more than the swimming itself. So again, once that naturally finished up, I was no longer interested in pursuing swimming. I moved down to the Gold Coast from Cairns to study at university. The first thing I did was, where's the nearest gym that I can sign up to? And yeah, that's kind of how it stemmed from there. I just started to get the bug. I started to get the bug of wanting to compete. I never really felt rushed. So, it'd been a good 10 years plus since I had started training and had an interest in bodybuilding to actually, jumping on stage last season. It would have been 2019. I went to the first sort of show that I'd ever been to spectate. And I remember seeing BK's athletes, Brandon Kempter. I think he had two boys. He had Cheza and he had Anthony on stage, and I just was blown away in terms of their performance and then what they showed. It was just unbelievable. So naturally, I was like, "Whoa, okay, I've got to tee this up with Brandon." I remember Brandon then competed the following season B 2019. I went and watched him on stage, and I was just like, "Okay, this is it." Brandon's going to be the guy I go to, and we're going to get this done. We ended up prepping for season A 2020 and got to about sort of 2 to 3 weeks out and things were cancelled because of COVID. But that was probably a blessing in disguise because you learn a lot through the process of a contest prep. And even though I didn't actually get on stage, like I said, you learn a tremendous amount, and it kind of set up probably the success for the most recent season. I think probably self-doubt is something that a lot of people go through. You're kind of putting yourself on the line. You're emotionally affected by the dieting condition, incredibly tired, you're lethargic, brain function is non-existent. So it's like there's those struggles associated with managing, hunger, also those self-doubt thoughts in terms of like, am I going to be ready in time? And I think as a first-time competitor, you probably go through those more so than anything else, being inexperienced to the stage. But they're all part and parcel of competing. Pretty surreal, yeah, it's pretty surreal. I think it's that feeling of sort of sensation of like self-actualization where you've gone 6 months of a prep to amount to 15-20 minutes on stage. That 15 and 20 minutes is just like immense, that sensation. And I think irrespective of what you place, like at the end of the day, you can walk off that stage and know that you gave it your all, and that's the most important thing, having something to aspire to and feeling that sense of reward and accomplishment from making it through the difficulties of a contest prep. I think I just started crying, to be honest. Yeah, I think it was probably 2 years of just emotion built up from, originally doing the contest prep in 2020, not being able to get to the stage and sort of having then a game plan of returning back to the stage again or getting to the stage in 2020. And it sort of, obviously it was successful. So the sensation of even just getting to the stage was probably the most important thing for me. Wanted to develop this as something that I would aspire towards for the rest of my life in terms of bodybuilding, and set up sort of that first stage showing as being something I could look back upon and be proud of, and to also, have enjoyed the process there too. I think irrespective of what I had placed, I think that first contest prep is just so important for building the rest of your career in terms of your competitive aspirations. Recovery is very, very challenging for a lot of athletes, and I think if someone says that they 100% nailed their recovery phase, I just don't think that that's the case. Your food reward sensitivity is completely ramped up. Your ability to be satiated is just non-existent, and now you no longer have a deadline in respect to when you're actually jumping on stage, and you want to be able to celebrate the 6 months that you've been preparing for, even longer, So for me personally, I did struggle with that post-comp rebound. I allowed myself, the first few days to just eat what I wanted to and enjoy that process, and then slowly regaining control in terms of your diet and looking at your rate of gain, trying to slow that down a little bit as well. But I think it's important to normalize that it's okay to struggle with that post-comp aspect. You don't need to be perfect, and I think knowing that in my head helped create that process as being an easier transition. Whereas I think if in my head I just thought, I'm going to stick to this to the T, and if I don't, I'm a failure, I think that would create some really negative self-talk. Transitioning back to, the similar diet in which I was implementing leading up to the show. Obviously calories are higher as you transition out of the show, but for the most part, sticking to relatively similar foods. I think for me, if I started introducing things that I just had not been eating, which I did in the first couple of days, but reverting back to my previous, diet, I think that transitioned me in a better sense, because I wasn't introducing all these incredibly, tasteful foods that are going to result in me overeating, and just allowing time more so. So just knowing that, until I get my body fat back up to a comfortable point, I'm going to have this increase in or decrease in satiation. Again, just normalizing that process, just being able to say in terms of my head, hey, it's okay to gain weight as well. To be able to maintain silly lean physique, year round is just not attainable. And if I try to, I'm just delaying the process of when I can actually get back to normality again. My body's trying to regulate homeostasis, and surely being at single-digit body fat percentages is not, healthy long term. I want to get back to a healthy physique as soon as I can. So a big part of me competing was to get myself out in terms of the scene within the bodybuilding community, and establish myself as well as a coach. I've been a personal trainer for over 10 years now, and naturally my passion and interest is towards the physique sports, and being able to guide other people through that process, just like I've been guided. My competitive aspirations probably sitting at around 2024 is competing again. But again, I'm not rushed to jump to the stage as soon as I can. I want to value the improvement season and gain normality within my life again, and focus on other things, relationships, family, things like that. But I'll be definitely getting back on stage pretty soon, yeah. I think it all stems from where I went and saw that first show. Went to the ICN competition in New South Wales at the time, and I was just blown away by the atmosphere, the caliber of athletes, the vibe of the crowd, and naturally, ICN is the largest federation, or natural federation, and because my coach and all the athletes that I'd seen on stage were in that federation, it just naturally I was going to go and compete there as well. Yeah. I think the main thing is just focusing on you primarily. We're in a sport where we compare ourselves to others. There are different aspects of their journey, and sometimes that can take away your enjoyment for your effort investment. So everyone is on their own journey, and you need to value your own and enjoy the process as well. And I think not being rushed to jump on stage, not stressing yourself in terms of when you need to be competing by, learning to love the sport, learning to love to train, learning to love to track and follow your nutrition plan, and eventually that will lead you down the road of deciding when it's appropriate for you to compete. Stage is always going to be there, so you may as well do it when you're ready to go. There's never the perfect time to jump on stage, but I think you'll know eventually. So it's just amazing. I think it's such an awesome group of athletes, and you go to the posing with the pros, and everybody's friends, everybody's liaising with each other, they're chatting, they're laughing. The vibe that you get when you go into an event like that is just incredible. And you go to, if you're not a current athlete, you've never been to a show, I would really encourage you to go to an ICN show and just see what we're all about, because straight away you'll know the type of community that we promote and people we are. So yeah, go to the event and it'll speak for itself.